Snacks. Snacks are consumed by people for their flavors even though they might be bad for people's health.
That was the answer that came to me as to why we keep reading isekai manga that is repetitive
And almost never brings something new to the table.
Super genius!
Thus flavor is addiction, albeit it can never substitute a full course meal. The flavors might get dull over time, but the addiction worsens, resulting in consuming more to satisfy our needs. Just like snacks and isekai manga, webtoons with portals, monsters, dungeons, systems, leveling up and more monsters have become the snacks of the manhwa world. Well, I'm not here today to lecture. As an addict for this kind of webtoons myself, I can't help but have a big smile every time I see a new title that tells me, here is your next dose of dopamine. Just like how you will smile after you see this video. So without any further ado, let's open the box. In number 10 we have level 1 player. Same as it usually goes, gates and monsters appear in the world, and along that, players to fight them awaken. The MC is a normal young man who aspires to be a player while laboring, so that he can take care of his family, including his bedridden mother, or his father in this one. After he finally awakens like he's been wishing for, the MC gets shocked by his unbelievably low stats and lack of active and passive skills. Still, he notices he has a unique skill named Purchase and Sell, which is basically a store where he can buy literally everything, stats, skills or items. As he starts using the store to get stronger, he discovers the true price he needs to pay for such privileges. But if he's dealing with the store, all he needs to do is to sell and run a business to regain his losses and even accumulate more wealth. The story and art are pretty average, but I like how it combines some ideas from other webtoons. It's similar to the Lord's coins aren't decreasing, but in modern world with gates and players. The MC doesn't have any appealing characteristics, and it's not something new to see an MC who doesn't level up but nonetheless gets stronger. I'd say try it out after you check the other ones in this video. Following up in number 9 we have Ultra Alter. The MC is someone who is bullied even in the virtual reality game that is almost considered a new world by itself. One day when he tries to log out from his sub-character, a shady message that seems to be a bug pops up and asks him if he wants to log out from that particular character. After logging out, the MC's body disintegrates and integrates back, but with a different build, exactly with the build of that sub-character from the game. Next thing he knows is that his reality changes. He gains powers and starts getting quests. Well, the change of his body doesn't mean he's mentally stronger, as he struggles for a while to adapt and overcome his past weaknesses and shortcomings. The plot becomes more interesting as the MC discovers that he isn't the only player out there and that threats aren't just monsters. The side characters are introduced and portrayed quite well, even though you can expect them to have cliché traits. The art is awesome and makes the fight scenes entertaining. Give it a look. Number 8. The Hero Returns. The MC remains as the last human being who is called a hero to fight the flooding monsters from dungeons. And at last, even the MC crumbles under the never-ending enemies and eventually dies bitterly. The MC wakes up in the past in a different body, exactly 20 years ago when the world was still lively. Having the knowledge about future events and the experience as a former hero, the MC once again carries the mission of protecting the world on his shoulders. This webtoon has a tower too, of course, with endless floors where awakened people can train and compete to get more strength. The MC is cool-headed but has a challenging nature too. He has a skill that allows him to copy a target's abilities to an extent, just in case you're interested in that kind of powers. The plot isn't captivating since it doesn't introduce something new and special, but the side stories and quests the MC goes through and the allies and enemies he meets are worth reading about. The artwork, on the other hand, is what makes this story entertaining. Next, in number 7, we have The Only Necromancer. The world as we know it ends and an apocalyptic event begins, giving people classes to help them to survive. In midst of confusion, the MC analyzes his situation and chooses the Necromancer class, which is a high-rated class. In this world, there is now like a fantasy game where monsters and quests pop up everywhere. The MC starts acquiring more strength and skills to survive and protects his close ones by wielding the reins of death itself. The world apocalypse is quite interesting with the fantasy genre added to it, but the plot plot armor around the MC might be too much for some of you. The side characters are dope and the comedic atmosphere they create in spite of their bad condition is really delightful. The MC has a past to have been in some special forces of a kind, so that might be the reason behind his decisiveness and quick-wittedness. He is someone who can be gentle but also heartless depending on the circumstances. The art is great on top of all, so you might wanna check it out. And in number 6 we've got Reality Quest. The MC is a gaming addict who is bullied in school on a daily basis. Yada yada, you know how it goes. I just read too much of school fighting and bullying webtoons recently, so you know, I'm quite burned out. Anyway, one day after a series of events, the MC dies because of excessive gaming non-stop. They literally respawn before the start of those unfortunate events. What welcomes him is a system with quests and rewards in real life. The system even has punishments ready in case the MC declines a quest, like having extreme pain in the nuts for 60 minutes. I guess we all can agree that's a hell of a punishment.
You can just see it as the system transforming the MC into a giga chat forcibly.
Well, the quests are interesting as they keep training the MC, but many might be annoyed by this long process. It takes about 28 chapters for the MC to become quite overbearing while digging deeper in the MC's personality, so keep that in mind. The art is lit though. It makes the fights look impressive and badass. The comedy is on point too. It's nice seeing the MC retaliate against the delinquents who are considered as monsters by the system. It's similar to Quest Supremacy, a webtoon I included in my previous video. Check them out if you haven't yet. Following up in number 5 comes Horden in Hell. The world is unfair, and the MC learns that the hard way. He is one of the people who have 0% of awakening any abilities, and thus he works as basically a legal scavenger. He wants to be there in the top with those hunters who are esteemed as the world's heroes, and have way more money than he could ever imagine. But one day, he receives a gift from a supposed dead father. Not long after, the gift drags him into a realm that is filled with monsters and death-threatening environment, and there the MC tastes death countless times endlessly, while he keeps respawning as if it's a game, and over time he acquires abilities and techniques that qualify for a survivor in that hell and can be carried and used in his world. The plot armor is quite hard, but it's interesting. Personality of the MC is kinda messy and some might find him unpleasing in multiple occasions, but it's still a shift from the main characters we're used to. The story has more to it, especially the undiscovered MC's past and its connection to his current situation. The art is decent too, so have a look at it. In number 4 we have Rescue System. Amidst the flames, the MC fights the fire but loses his life eventually on a rescue mission. What's fascinating is that he apologizes to the unconscious man that he couldn't save in spite of the fact that he himself is waiting for death. Yet, he gains a chance to live once again, but this time with a system that gives quests and rewards. The MC chooses to live as a firefighter again, and starts leveling up to become the ultimate firefighter. The story really reminds you when you read it about the real heroes of this world. They are those who are just normal humans like us but risk their lives for us. I mean, sure, the MC has super abilities like sense and danger as if his name is Peter Parker, but you get the point. The scenes of the atrocious flames solidify the thought of not playing with fire. The information provided about this field is quite good in this webtoon. Like even the little infographics at the end of some chapters provide interesting info. The webtoon still has its awesome action on top of that, not to mention the appreciable art style that gives life to the characters. I highly recommend it as a refresher among webtoons with a system tag. And in number 3 we've got My Daughter is the Final Boss. After his daughter has somehow become the final boss that Earth has to face, the man wields his spear and confronts the world to protect his daughter even in this situation. But he dies while the rest of the warriors assemble to finish off the last quest. On the other hand, the dying man gets a hidden quest instead, which is to change the future of his daughter. And just like that, he regresses back to the past to correct his mistakes and everything that once caused his daughter misfortune, or misfortunes, exactly 5. The emotions that erupt from reading the wholesomeness of this family-focused story are really impactful, so it's a good change from the mainstream of this kind of stories. It's also good that there are 5 major goals that the MC needs to fulfill, as it gives us an idea about the end of the story, or clear objectives at least. The art is pretty neat, and the cuteness of the daughter heals the soul. The characters have diverse personalities and make you want to know more about them. The action is quite immersive too. Have a go at reading it and you'll probably like it. In number 2, we have Worthless Regression, a cute male lead. That's what you'd think of first time you read this webtoon, but that wouldn't last long as you'd realize that the cute male is actually a giga chad that kicks others in the nuts for survival. Yes, survival in this fantasy world that he's been summoned to. But unlike others like him, he got the chance to once live in this world for 13 years and accumulate experience as a mercenary before returning to the past. He still remains as talentless as before, but now with the knowledge from his previous life and the firm determination, he would seize opportunities and surpass his old self and even geniuses of this era with extreme effort. The story combines both the field of fantasy with the games-like elements and the field of martial arts, suiting for various tastes. The MC is merciless and very shrewd, but still has the traits of sympathy for those who are similar to him. The side characters are interesting and the story develops as the MC tries to discover his goals in this life. The art is quite decent too and makes funny scenes look funnier. Give it a try. And last but not least, in number 1 we have The World After the End. There are many webtoons with towers and portals out there by now, but rarely do you find something special among them. This story is that special one. After wondrous towers appear in the world, a few are chosen to be walkers, warriors who are invited to the tower in order to save humanity. But only few from those chosen ones stay in the tower after a chance of going back to the past is offered. And as the years pass, only the MC remains with his absolute will and determination to clear the tower. Yet, after decades of suffering, he discovers the mysteries and true nature of this tower. As firm as he is, he just ruins the game that higher beings orchestrate and plays it with his own rules. The plot of this story is quite complicated as a work from the same author of Omniscient Viewpoint, and it's of course very interesting. The eeriness that accompanies the dark developments really hits hard. The MC is a complete chad with a cool-headed personality, the art is gorgeous, and the characters are dynamic. Give it a shot.
Well, I hope you found something to read, and as always, thanks for watching.
素晴らしい
See you again when opening another box.